Hello and welcome to Andy's Shed Live. This is Series 16 Episode 10 for Sunday the 29th of September 2024. Hello there everybody and welcome to the show for this Sunday in September. I've got a wonky camera again. It's on the wonk, this camera. Here we are once again. It is another Sunday. Hello to everybody who is with us. Sorry a little bit late and there wasn't kind of any notice of this stream either today. We were trying to do it in a different way that's proved not to work very well. And I did a dry run earlier in the week and it did work. But I've just tried it again now and it's not worked so well. So yeah, back to the drawing board on that, I think. So hello to Christopher who is with us in the chat. Hopefully there'll be some others along shortly. That's what we're hoping for anyway. So yeah, I'm just seeing what we're doing. Yeah, cool. Right, we're on there. That's the one. Right. So hopefully people will find us as the stream goes on today. Normal service will be resumed next week when we'll go back to doing it the way we normally do it. I think because I tried to do something clever and it didn't work. Basically, it should work, but it didn't work. So I don't think the internet connection's up to doing what I was trying to do, but not to worry, we will survive one way or another. While waiting for people to come along, just remember about the housekeeping and that we do have a website if you want to get in touch with us throughout the week. It's here, andyshed.coldpress.net. There is a contact us form on there if you want to get in touch, if you don't know the secret or the not secret now email address. If you don't know it already, initially get in touch with us via the contact form on the website, andyshed.coldpress.net. We also have a telephone forum which is here to talk all things telephones. It's gpotelephones.proboards.com. And remember, if you like what we do here and you want to support us on Patreon, you can also do that for just the equivalent of $1 a month. It's www.patreon.com/Andy's Shed. Okay, there we are. Right, so what is happening? Has anybody found it yet? Doesn't look like it. Looks like it's only me and thee, Christopher, tonight. It says, Andy, did you get the photos of my new telephone that I got? I don't know, Christopher. I've not looked at my email today, to be quite honest with you. Let me have a look, and I'll tell you then if I've got it or not. Where are we? No, not that. That's the wrong button I've pressed. Try again. Where are we? Somewhere. Well, it's thinking about it. It takes a while. It has to think about it. It does take a while. It's having a look. Where are we? Possibly not, Christopher. Doesn't look like it's here. Nope, can't see it. Just looking through my list. I get so many emails, you see, I can easily miss one. But I'm just looking through my list. Oh no, it's there. Your office setup, Christopher. Is that the one? Is that what we should be looking for? Yeah, I think I've got it. Let's have a little look. Yeah, I think it's that, isn't it? Yeah, looks very good, very professional looking. That might have to reach a long way though to get to the keyboard on the laptop, or is that another keyboard in front of it there? Yeah, what we got there? A strange sort of hybrid red phone with the 706 with the 746 finger wheel on it, and is that a black curly cord IC instead of a red one? And an Ericsson N1 900 something or other on the other side, possibly supplied to telephone rentals or somebody like that. But yeah, very good. Right, how do I get out of that now? Right, let's have a look. Something like that. Yeah, and the others are too big, they don't fit on the screen. The other photos are just too big. I can't show them, they don't fit on the screen. It don't work. They're too big, the photos. When you send a photo, and this goes to anybody, if you're sending me a photo, can you make sure, please, it's no more than 1,000 pixels wide, and also make sure it's that way on, not that way on. Make sure it's always landscape. No, make sure it's always landscape, never portrait, because obviously this image that you're watching is landscape, not portrait. So it fits on. Make it portrait and no more than 1,000 pixels wide, and then we'll be able to show it a lot easier, because otherwise I have to go away into another piece of software and resize it and all that kind of stuff, and I can't do it on the fly when we're live, because it just takes too much resources to do it. One or two people are starting to appear now. Neville is with us. Hi Neville. He says, hi all, I was watching last week but was in Menorca, and although I could remember my YouTube login, it wanted to send a verification to Outlook and I had forgotten my password, so could not chat. Yeah, YouTube is a pain in the bum for this two-factor authentication nonsense. I absolutely hate it. It doesn't make your account any more secure. A username and a password should be enough. And if it's possible for people to hack YouTube and get your password, then that's YouTube's problem and YouTube need to sort it. But I hate two-factor authentication. I turn it off if I possibly can. Unfortunately, there's more and more things these days where you can't turn it off. But yeah, I absolutely hate it. Gambo says, it's finally got the vid to load. Kept saying it's been removed by Andy. Yeah, this is the second stream tonight. I tried a stream a little bit earlier using a different system that I thought was going to be clever, and it didn't work. So this is the second one tonight. Christopher says no, that office setup. That's not the photo that he wanted me to show. He says he's got a new PMG phone. In that case, I've not got it then, Christopher, and I thought I had seen that, but no, it appears to not have arrived. Try again. Is that not a 746L, says Wesley. Was it? I wasn't looking that close. 746L. What on Christopher's photo, Wesley? I'm sure it'll tell us if it was. It may have been. Right, he's just resent me some photos. He says, right, let's have a look. Oh, I've pressed the wrong button again. Got serious finger trouble here tonight. Where are we? Right, let's have a look. Right, what's wrong with those now? Right, they've come out stupidly tiny this time. What is going on with this? With this computer? They're not attached to the email. I can't open an attachment because there's no attachment there. You've not attached them to the email. You've included them in the email, Christopher. You've not attached them, so I can't open them. Can't open them at the minute. At least not at a reasonable size. Stick them on the forum or something. Yeah, yeah. It's terrible. When people send me photos by email, it's a real pain in the bum to actually open them and show them. It's really difficult to do because they just come out the wrong size all the time. Don't put them in the email. Attach them to the email. Send them as an attachment to the email, and ideally send them as a PNG file. Is it PNG? Is it PNG? You can send it as a JPEG if you want. It's just that the resolution will not be so good. But yeah. But don't send them on a Sunday and expect it to be on that Sunday, because it takes me a week to import the photos properly. It really does. It takes so much time to do. Talking of taking time to do and things, from next week on, unfortunately, you will only be able to watch us on YouTube again. The reason is we are saying goodbye to Restream, which is the company that multiplies the stream out, so we've got it on multiple different platforms. Restream is hugely expensive, and quite simply it's not worth it. If you take into account the money that we get from Patreon, Restream costs 3 times the monthly total of what we get from Patreon to host it. So we are saying goodbye to Restream this week, and it will be back on YouTube only as from next week. Also, Odyssey has been taken over by new operators, and basically I think it's going to end up behind a paywall, Odyssey. They're already now refusing to automatically upload our YouTube videos, so we will be leaving that platform and also leaving the Facebook platform as well. So unfortunately, and I say this with a heavy heart because I hate YouTube, unfortunately we will only be on YouTube from next week onwards, until I can find a way of having my own platform out there, which I just can't do because we just haven't got good enough internet to send multiple streams out. It's just not good enough. So unfortunately it'll be back to YouTube next week. which is a real pain in the bum, I know. Christopher says it was a 746L and an N1900E244 on the other side as well. So well spotted. Right. So have we got people here now? Yeah, it's not been a very good week here. We've had all kinds of technical issues here. I've had to rewire a load of telephone cable and that this week because I found a cable outside the house that had got a split in it and water had got into the cable. So that was causing issues. So I had to rewire all that, and yeah, it was an absolute pain to do it, but we have rewired it. But as I was in the process of rewiring, I found a couple of other problems that I may want your help with. Right, bear with me 1 second. I've got a phone on the desk and I've got to put it somewhere else so I can put another phone on the desk. Right, first question, right, is as you know, my telephones here go through a BT Revelation PABX. One of the extensions on the PABX will not take incoming calls, it seems. If you call from another extension to it, that extension that you're calling to comes up as engaged, even if it's not. And when you pick up the phone on that extension, you get kind of steady dial tone normally, when it's one where you can dial 9 and then get an outside line. But on this particular extension, this one that's not taking incoming calls, it's not a steady tone that it does for the Revelation. It's the same steady tone, but it's got an intermittent drop in it, so it's like beep, 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 and you can dial out from it fine. You can then press 9 and dial out, but you can't call the extension from another one. So I'm wondering if I've kind of accidentally somehow put it on night service or something like that. So if anybody knows anything about Revelations, let me know. Also, we've got a fault with the black phone that normally sits on the desk. So if anybody can help, let us know. I've got to say hello to Jean, who is new to this channel apparently. Hello Jean, good to see you here. Wesley says about the Revelation, have you not inadvertently put a do not disturb on it? I don't know if I have, Wesley. I may have done that. Yeah. How do you take it off again? how do you put it on and take it off? But yeah, I may have done that. I've got no sound, says Dominic. Oh, why is that? Have we got sound here? I'll just double check. Yeah, we seem to have got sound going out from here. Has everybody else got sound okay? That's the question. Wesley says dial 42 from the extension. I shall try it, Wesley. It's up here. I think we may have cracked that, Wesley. I think we may have cracked that. Just a moment. I don't remember what number it's on. Yeah, we've cracked it, Wesley. It's got a very quiet ringer in it. You probably can't hear it ringing, but it is ringing. Yeah. So I'd inadvertently done that. Stupid me. Thank you, Wesley. You've solved it again. Christopher says he's put his photos of his new phone on the forum. So if you want to go and have a look at the photos of Christopher's phone, which is actually quite nice, it is now on the forum, which is there, gpotelephones.proboards.com. That is the address of the forum. Right, I was saying things have gone a bit wrong this week, and one thing that's gone wrong, while I was doing all this messing about rewiring, and then I found that that extension wasn't working right, because I inadvertently put it on night service or something stupid. I also found that my black phone that sits on the desk here, this one, suddenly went dead. I was getting no dial tone on it, and I think I know what happened. I think because I was messing with wires and that, I think it's got a dodgy connection in the line cord, but I'm just going to give it a try again, and it's come back to life now. Wouldn't you know it? But there is a slightly dodgy connection on it. So I think it may be time to do away with this line cord, with this dodgy connection on this phone. Do away with this one. And the reason it's dodgy is, if you care to have a look at it, if I can show you it, to get the plug, sorry, the plug's a bit dirty because it's been down on the floor, but to get the plug onto a round original GPO cable, I had to do a clever thing at the end with a bit of heat shrink to not to fan the things out flat, and it's not perfect. So what I think we're going to do is we're going to take that off now and fit a standard GPO line cord to it. And people say, why are you fitting a grey one? Well, there's a reason that I'm not fitting a black one, and the reason is, for the GPO, when they have a plug on the end, they only ever did them in this grey colour. They did not do any other colour. So any other colour is, for originality's sake, technically incorrect. Now I know this phone probably didn't have a plug when it was in service anyway, but this is the nearest, this is what it would have had if it did have one. Does that make sense? So what we are going to do, if I've got room on my ever more cluttered desk, is take this apart and I will attempt, says he, to fit a new cord. Now I need a very small flat bladed screwdriver, because this has got a dial 12 on it, not a dial 21, and dial 12s are a bit tricky to deal with, because if you want to get the finger wheel off, which I might, You have to take the label off, but actually I am going to try without taking the finger wheel off. Now this normally goes horribly wrong when I do it without taking the finger wheel off, but we will give it a go. So because it's like a 746, it's basically a private version of a 746 this. It's not an Ericsson one though. We undo these screws up here. Now these should be retained, but that one's not. And then we lift the phone at the back, and it has come off quite easily. So all I've got to do is get my new cord, which has fallen on the floor, and get the line cord, which is here, and replace like for like with it. So I've got red up there, terminal number 8. So I'll take that one off and put my new red on to terminal 8. This is where I'm in my own light and my hands are in the way and you can't see what I'm doing. Well, you have to take the word for it. White to terminal 18. Let's just hope this line cord is a good one, so I haven't actually tested it. But it was in the bag, wasn't it? So it should be a good one. So that goes on to 18. Then blue is here onto terminal 6. So here's my blue one. Terminal 6. And 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Terminal 15. Now, where is the old green going? It is there. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It's on 15. Now, terminal 15 doesn't go anywhere. It's just a place to park the green that is unused. So you don't actually have to wire this one in if you really don't want to, but I generally do, and it's just a matter of parking it on there. So that is now on there. So the old cord now can be removed like that. So that one's out of the way, and the new cord, now for some reason, I'm never quite sure why, GPO used to twist them like that. Perhaps it's just so the wires sit together a bit better, but that goes in there like that, and theoretically that's sorted it. Now before we go any further, shall we try it? What do you think? Shall we plug it in and give it a go? So let's t'other end of me cord. This cord's actually a bit suspect actually, because it's got a clear one of them on the end, and I don't think the GPO did them with clear ones on, so somebody's put a new thing on it at some point. Oh yeah, much better. And now when I waggle the connector like that, which is underneath the chat, I know, so you can't see you very well, but I am doing it. When I did it with the other one, it went off and reset, but that's good. So I think we've mended this phone, which is excellent news. So all I've got to do now, and this is the hard part that I'm doing now, is I've got to get the case back on. Now the case is a bit dirty, so while it's off, I'm going to give it a dust. And see what I can do. Getting it back together. Doo-ba-doo-ba-doo. Right, there we go. A bit of a dust. Right, so now I've got to try and get this case back on this phone. So what we do, there's two lugs under the front edge of the case, here and here, and they go in two little holes here and here. So we get those lugs in the holes, then you have to make sure the little cutout here for the finger stop is in the right place. Make sure the bezel hasn't spun round, and then you should be able to just drop the back end of the thing on, and it does actually work better with the dial 12 than it does with the dial 21, probably because the dial is slimmer. Now these screws that should be retained, hopefully that one, these screws are slightly different, so I think one of them is not the original screw. Should screw down into the workings of the phone, and that should hopefully hold it all together, and it is doing. So I've mended my black phone, which is good because I've got a not so nice modern phone on the desk at the moment, or relatively modern for me. So I can now put my black telephone back into service. There it is. Brill. So that's rather good, isn't it? If only I could find somewhere for that wire to go. Marvellous. Right, how are we getting on with the chat? Bill says, I assume the GPO released colour codes later to match the telephone. No, Bills. No, they never did. No, they were coloured. The cords were coloured when they had... The cords were coloured when they had one of those on each end, basically, and a junction box. Then the cords were coloured, because this is one of those. But when the plug and socket came in the early to mid 80s, they thought, why should we make 7 different coloured line cords for the main phones and then more different coloured ones for trim phones and things? Why not just make them in a neutral colour, pale grey, and then they'll fit on everything, which they did. Now you can now buy these cords with a modern plug on the end. Britphone sells them, but they are not prototypically correct. They never existed at the time of the telephones. So they are not actually prototypically correct, and they're quite expensive. And I got a big load of these grey cords for like, I think it was about £1 a cord, ages and ages ago. I got a big box full, and I've still got quite a few of them left. So that's why I've done it the way I've done it. So my black phone is now back into service. So we mended quite a lot of stuff this week. And talking of mending things, the saga of the clock mechanism, this clock here, which had lost a few teeth off its spring barrel. Can you see that, where it's got a few teeth missing? This may be coming to a conclusion because I've managed to find for 12 quid on eBay another mechanism that is very, very similar, another movement. So I'm hoping I will be able to scavenge one of these out of the other movement to get this clock going again. So hopefully this clock you see sitting behind me, which the movement is out of, this one, hopefully we'll have that back in service quite soon. Jeff is here. Hi Jeff. He says, what a wonderfully well built telephone. They built those old things to last forever. They did, Jeff. Yeah. The reason was you hired them. You know, you paid a was it quarterly subscription to the GPO, General Post Office, and later to Telecom, for your phone. Whether you made any calls or not, you still had to pay for the sort of rent of it, and so it was in their interests to have phones that were as unbreakable as possible, because if they did break, they had to send an engineer out, which was costing them money. So it was in their interests to build something that would last forever, which they have done. So that's why they're so well built. But as soon as plug and socket came in, and you then rent your socket, but you buy your phone, that's when they started making horrible, nasty, plastic, tacky phones then. Because then they wanted them to break the people then that made the phone, so you go out and buy another one. A bit like mobiles now. Bill says, thank you, Andrew. They must have made them for the 706 at some point, or maybe 70s. What the cords that they made for the 706s, Bills, originally had spade connectors on each end, or fork connectors technically is what they are, and you screwed them on. When the plugs and sockets came in, they were all grey. They were all that grey. I think it's is it elephant grey? No, that's the colour of the grey phones. There's a name for it, and I can't remember what the name of the grey is. But there is a name for it. But yeah, they are all grey. Anything that had a plug on the end of it was a grey cord. They never did coloured ones. Christopher says, how many telephones do you have in service in your home, Andy? I have 3 telephones in my home in service. Well, theoretically, Christopher, on the Revelation, I think I can have, I can't remember if it's 14 or 16. Wesley will probably know, because it's a fully tricked out Revelation with all the extra cards in it. So in theory, I can have either 14 or 16 extensions off the Revelation. Now, of course, you can then install a splitter and have 2 phones ringing off one extension if you really want to. But at the minute in service, well, I've got 2 sat here on the desk at the minute, but I will be unplugging one of those. In the sort of main living room of the house, there's another one. In the far room of the house, near where the master socket comes in, there's another one. So that's 4. In the main room of the house, in the sitting room of the house, there's actually 2, as I say, off one of those splitters. So I've got 1, 2, and I've got 3 in here. So 2 in there, 1 in the front room, that's 3, 3 in here at the moment, although that will be going down to 2. So that's 6 at the minute, and then when CNET is up and running, there's 2 that work off CNET as well for the 2 incoming lines on CNET. So yeah, it totals about 8 at most. What I normally use. What I am trying to do is get a phone line upstairs, but it's really difficult to route the cable to get upstairs because of the shape of the house. But we're working on it. We are working on it. Wesley says the max on Revelation was 4 exchange lines and 12 extensions. I think each extension could provide 2 rent. 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, it might be 12, Wesley. It might be 6 extensions on the main card, and then there's 2 extra cards in it that might have 4 on each. Yeah, they have got 4 on each, I think. So if the main one only got... No, the main one's got more than 4 on, I think. I don't know off the top of my head. I thought it was more than 12. But it might be 12. Anyway, I don't use 12, so it's alright. Jeff says, in the US Navy, we called it haze grey. As in haze grey and underway. Interesting. Interesting. They did have a name for it. The GPO over here, Jeff, had an official name for the colour of the cords, and I just can't. I think it's dolphin grey. I think it's dolphin grey. I think. But it's almost white. They do look. For all intents and purposes, they look white. It's very close to being white. Sorry, the clock is chiming. and it's on time as well. It's bang on 8 o'clock, that clock. Excellent. Yeah. So yeah, we've got all these at the moment. I have got another American phone here for you, Jeff. Because you're in the States, aren't you? Right, there is another American one here. If I can just grab it, give that a dust as well, because that's been here for ages and ages and ages. In fact, the handset isn't currently attached to it because we had a bit of a problem with this one on an episode some time ago. I got this old wall phone, and you can tell it's an old one because it's got a metal finger wheel, very much like in the UK old ones are metal finger wheels, and it has got the handset with it. It's just not attached at the minute, but this didn't work, and there was a problem with the stack of contactors inside it, you know, where there's lots of contactors all stacked together, and I took that out, and basically the stack of contactors exploded in my hand, and it all came apart into a million pieces, and I've got to now get it all back in the right order, so I've got to sit and really think about it to put it back together. But that'll be quite a nice phone. I've got a later one of these on the wall up here, a yellow one, but it's one with a plastic finger wheel on it. Jeff says, anyone else use an old VoIP Vonage adapter hack to make a ring down circuit for the home? All my downstairs phone ring the upstairs phones and vice versa. No dialing required. I've never tried that, Jeff. Are you aware of what CNET is, Jeff? The Collectors Telephone Network. It's quite big in the USA. It's probably more well known in the USA than it is in the UK. Because when I have it coupled up and running, and I've got a server here that effectively does an exchange, or central office, as you guys would call it. It kind of replicates the old telephone network, and that works via VoIP, and we use analog terminal adapters, ATAs, connected to phones to join up to CNET. It's a C** net, C** because it uses the asterisk software to do it. But it is really good. I've got a server here that does it. Christopher and one or two others have got phone numbers on it. Even though Christopher's in Australia, he's actually got a British telephone number that his British telephones work on, because it all goes via VoIP. And when it's working, it's really good. It's just that the server went down. We had a power cut a few weeks ago, and the server went down, and it takes a bit of jiggery pokery to reboot it. It doesn't just come straight up on its own. It needs help to come back up, and I do it so infrequently I forget how to do it, so it takes me ages to get it back on again. But when it's on, it's very good, isn't it, Christopher? There's one or two people who've got numbers on. I forget who else has got numbers on it. But yeah, that's what we use the VoIP ATAs for connecting to CNET. But I've never done this for a ring down circuit. Tell us more. Christopher says, I've got one 711 wall phone in my railway room on landline on PBX, and two phones in the living room. I've got a 746L landline on PBX and a DTMF Western Electric 2500 as a 4G landline. Yeah. Yeah, so you've got a few, Christopher, in use. Bill says, Andy, how would I get you to make my number to CNET? That would be brilliant. What you need, Bills, you need a dedicated ATA, an analog terminal adapter, which is a little box that you plug and Ethernet cable into. I'm just looking, because I'm remembering what you do. Yes, you get a little box, which is an ATA, that you plug an Ethernet cable into, that you then plug into one of the yellow ports on the back of your router. One of the Ethernet ports on the back of your router. And you also then plug your telephones into the ATA. Some ATAs have got a port to plug one phone in. Some you can plug two phones into, some you can plug four phones into. The ones you can plug more phones into are more expensive. And what happens is, your phone calls come in by VoIP, so you have to have a VoIP account with me, which is free, on CNET. So what actually happens is, let's say Christopher calls you, Bills, and you're both on my exchange, which is actually a computer server. What happens is, Christopher makes a call. Say he rings you, Bills. Christopher makes a call from his phone, which then goes into his ATA, which converts it to a signal the internet can understand, VoIP. It then sends that out into the internet and sends it to my server that's sat on the windowsill here. It's just a little thin client computer that's been slightly modified that sits on the windowsill here. Right? It arrives here and the signal has got a packet attached to it that says, I want to call Bills, can you put me through? So my server then looks for Bill's number, just like in an exchange it would cycle to his number, and then my server then calls you Bills, calls your ATA via your router into your ATA, and then your ATA converts the signal back into something a telephone can understand, you know, an analog phone signal. Your phone rings, and when you pick it up, you and Christopher are connected together via my server. But I think once the connection is made, I think you are connected directly. So once you're talking to each other, I think if I turn my server off, I think your call would stay connected. I think. I'm not 100% sure about that, but it's the ATAs. Right. Now the thing about the ATAs is these boxes that you plug your phone into, they don't all work with pulse dialing. A lot only work with DTMF, tone dialing, right? So if you want one that works with pulse dialing, basically you want a Grandstream one. Some others may do, but I know that Grandstream 500 series and 700 series ATAs do. They do work with pulse dialing, but they don't all. But if you're going through a PABX at your end as well, so if you're going phone to PABX line out to your ATA, then to your router, your PABX may turn your pulse dialing into DTMF, so then a DTMF ATA would work. And the ATAs are somewhere between about 15 and £30 normally to get one with 2 lines on it. But try and get a Grandstream one if you can, because they do definitely work with pulse dialing. The 700 series ones, it's quite old kit. There may be newer versions now, but if you can get a Grandstream 702 or whatever I think they are, they do work. Have I got one I can get at to show you what it is? Just having a look. Have I got one down here? Got a horrible feeling I haven't. There's one up there, but that's not. Right, this is not a Grandstream one, and it's not one that does pulse dialing. This has to be DTMF, this, but these are the cheapest ones. It's a Linksys, and the model number is PAP2T, PAP number 2T, and you basically can get these on eBay without the Linksys logo on. And I think what happens is it's an old design of Think, and I think it's been discontinued by Linksys, but the factory in China that made them for Linksys now still produces them, but just doesn't put the Lynx's name on anymore. So you can get these on eBay, but these only do DTMF, but they are quite reliable. And as you can see, if I put this under the other camera, you'll be able to see better what's going on with it. Right. So there you go. You see, you've got a power input there, which in this case is what, 5 volts 2 amps, I think. That is where your router plugs into. So that's an Ethernet port, just like on your router, or if you've got your computer connected by Ethernet, like the port on the back of your computer. And then you've got 2 phone sockets, and these are the American RJ type sockets, right? So these are the American sockets on there. Now, if you've got your phone wired the British way around, for the modern British system, we have the ring capacitors to make your phone ring now in the jack on the wall. We wire out the ones in the phone. This is the conversion that you do for old phones to make them work with the British plug and socket. If you've done that, you need a device with the ring capacitor in it. So you can get these American RJ connectors, the RJ11s, I think. I can never remember because they're different versions with different numbers of things on. And then it's a British socket on the other end of that. Now you can get these with or without the ring capacitor in. You want them, if you've got phones wired the modern way, which they will be if they've got a British plug on, you want one of these with the ring capacitor inside it. And then all you do is you plug that into there. If I do it the right way up, come on, that's it. You plug that into there like that, and then you plug your phone into there, and then you've got a British socket on there. You can buy these off eBay, but make sure it's the version that has got the capacitor inside it. Okay. Now if you've got an American phone that you're wanting to plug in, or if you've got an unconverted British phone where you've not wired out the ring capacitor in the phone, then you can just plug it straight in, provided you've got the correct fitting on there, the correct plug on there. You can just plug it straight in. So if you've got an American phone, because Americans don't put the ringer in the wall jack because they've got more sense, not the silly British way of doing it, then if you've got an American phone that's still got the American plug on, just pop it straight in there and it'll work. Okay? Clear as mud, isn't it? Right, let me put that back. Remember where it is. But yeah, so I have a server that does CNET, and other people around the world have got CNET servers, and they all talk to each other. So it is effectively a VoIP version of lots of different telephone exchanges around the world, all talking to each other. RJ11 says, Jeff, is the modular US phone plug. Yeah, I thought it was RJ11. Yeah, there's RJ different things with different numbers of connectors on them, but the one for a phone is an RJ11. Yeah, so you want an RJ11 to British socket, but you want the one with the ring capacitor in it. Christopher says, I can run my Grandstream HT802 ATA on my NBN router. You're on my backup 4G router. Yeah, that HT802, Christopher, that'll do pulse dialing, won't it? Wesley says, hi Jeff, what link are you referring to? YouTube blocks the links in the comments. Yes, it does. It doesn't let you put the links in the comments, unfortunately. If you join the forum, Jeff, you should be able to join the forum. Then you can maybe write a little piece about it in the forum. I'm going to show you the thing again for the forum. If you go here and join this forum, Jeff, then maybe start a thread about it in the forum, because it sounds quite interesting what you've done. So yeah, www.gpotelephones.proboards.com. Cool. Right, where are we? It says, I'll post it in the forum. Yeah, well done. Brilliant. Christopher says, we have RG11 sockets here in Australia too. Yeah, we have them here in the UK, Christopher, but it tends to be because they're on American equipment that we use, like American PBXs. Some Panasonic PBXs use them, you know, to plug your extensions in. Christian says, my Ericsson N1900 E244 is on a Grandstream HT802 and it does work with pulse dialing. Excellent. And for those who don't know, an N1900 is very similar to a GPO 706 phone, which is very similar to the black one. Well, almost identical to the black one that I was messing with earlier. But yeah, seeing that's a good thing when it's working. It's a bit tricky to get working initially. One or two people have done. I forget who else has done it now, but one or two people on here have done it. Christopher's done it. Who else has done it, Christopher? There's about 3 or 4 people who've got numbers off mine that are on here. But you don't have to have a number off my server, Jeff. You can have a number off other people's, and there are people in America with the servers as well, so you can have a number off them, and then you will have an American style number. So you'll have an American format number. Wesley says RJ11s are usually used on the telephone end of a line cord on modern phones and for ex-DSL leads. Yeah, I think it's because them phones are produced for all over the world, aren't they, Wesley? So they just use RJ11 to couple it all together, and it's what our American friends would call modular. So you can unplug things, and And on the handset of American phones that have been converted to modular, there's a sort of mini version of an RJ11 on the handset cord, which is an RJ something else, and I can't remember what it is. But in general, I think American phones are very good. I've said on here before, I think American phones of the era, sort of the 60s and 70s and into the 80s, are generally better than British ones. They certainly are when you come to repair them. They are certainly better. Christopher says, all my UK telephones are wired the old way with the junction box with RJ11 line cord coming out of a GPO junction box. Yeah, so you've not got one of those little adapter things then, have you, Christopher? You just plug your line cord via the RJ11 straight into your ATA, because your ring capacitor is still being used in your phone. You've not kind of wired it out in your phone. Why do you say, do you not suffer from bell tinkle, Christopher? Or do you only have one telephone per ATA? I think Christopher's only got one telephone per ATA, or if you're going via a PABX, you don't have bell tinkle if you've only got one telephone per extension. That solves the problem. Otherwise, you may get bell tinkle depending on what sort of phone it is. But again, American phones have a bias spring in the bells, a lot of them, which basically stops the bell tinkle because it's got a spring that holds the clapper over one way. So that bit of extraneous current that normally does the tinkle can't in an American phone, because there's a spring that's holding it. Until it rings properly, it's not got enough force to pull against the spring. And I think in the early days in the UK they had these springs as well, but I think they gave up with it. But yeah, everything that's wired up here is only wired up on 2 wires. It's not wired up on 3. It doesn't have a belt wire. Cool. Right. Well, we've run the gamut of stuff today, haven't we? Quite a bit of stuff gone into the forum apparently today. Excuse me. So yeah, if you want to have a look at the forum, remember that's the address for it: gpotelephones.proboards.com. And if you want any more information about anything that has been on the show today, then you'll find a contact form for me on the website here at andyshed.coldpress.net. You can contact me via the form that you'll find on there, and we'll get in touch. Okie dokie. Right, I think that is probably almost as far as we go for today. But it says, thanks for that, Andy. Always wondered how they prevented it with modular jacks that are only using 2 pins. I think sometimes they do use more pins, Wesley. Not 100% certain on that, but certainly I've only got wired on 2 pins. But I think they put up with it, kind of thing. I don't think the tinkle is too bad, but they certainly, a lot of the phones do certainly have these bias springs that hold the clapper over one way. I've got a 500 series down here to show you. No, you have to take my word for it. Wesley says, I now need to go and fit some skirting board upstairs. Is that so you can screw extension sockets to it, Wesley? There's nothing worse than coming to put a socket into a room that hasn't got any skirting board around it, so you've got nothing to screw the sockets into. You think, damn, I wish this room had a skirting board. Jeff says he's posting a new thread on the forum, but the link is being redirected for some reason. We'll keep at it until I figure it out. Yeah, put a space or something in it, Jeff, so it doesn't look like a link, and that might fool it. These forums and YouTube chats and that are a bit too smart for their own good sometimes. Christopher says, yes, I do have an N1900 on my ATA and on my landline PBX. I do get bell tinkle because I have two telephones on the same extension, 101 and GC 711 wall phone in railway room, and GPO 746L in living room. So you do get some bell tinkle on that. Yes. Yeah, I don't know how you solve that, Christopher. If you've got any American 500 series phones, try putting them on it and see if you still get the tinkle. I don't think you will, because if you're lucky you'll have got one with the bias spring in. Wesley says he's put his phone sockets in back boxes before he got the plastering done. Crikey, that's thinking ahead, Wesley. You just have to hope that the cable that you've plastered into the wall doesn't go duff. I'll tell you a story about that. When I used to sell telephones through the local antique centre, somebody bought a Snowden trim phone off me, and they got it home and found it didn't work. So they got back in touch with me. I said, I'll come and have a look, I said, because I'm sure the phone should be working. I'll come and have a look, just make sure everything's wired up right and that. And they've got a brand new house, these people, and there was a drop wire that came from outside into the hallway, where there was a socket, a master socket, and then further through the house there was another socket, sorry, that they wanted to plug this phone into, and they plugged it in, didn't work. They plugged it into the master socket, it did work, but they didn't want it there because that was in the hallway, and they didn't want it in the hallway. And I isolated the wiring between the two sockets and did a continuity test, and guess what? No continuity between them. My suspicion is that the socket that they put in the back of the house, they hadn't actually wired it into the master socket, and they plastered it all into the wall so you couldn't get at it. But yeah, no continuity at all between the two sockets, and that was a brand new house where they put the boxes in but not put a wire between them, as far as I can tell. Oh, the wire was there going out of the box and into the plaster at each end, but it must have joined somewhere in the middle and wasn't actually joined up, and that was a brand new house. So yeah, that's how good British houses are these days. Do not ever buy a new built house in the UK. They're terrible. I go dog walking at another new built house in the UK, and I got down on my hands and knees once to do something with a dog, put his lead on or something, and as I got up, I just sort of put my hand like that on top of the radiator in the hallway, just to steady myself. As I got up, and the radiator fell off the wall, brackets and everything. Again, new build house, terrible. Jeff says space in front of the link worked. That's brilliant, Andy. No problem, Jeff. We're here to help. Yeah, wiring is something you have to do when you're dealing with old phones. You end up doing a lot of wiring and that. Yeah. At least now we have these punch down tools and things that make wiring in the UK at least a little bit easier than if you have to do it all with screw terminals. Although certain things I do still do with screw terminals, because where I've got this long run of wiring from the front of the house to the back, where I've got, I can't remember if it's a 4 or 5 pair cable coming from the front of the house to this room, which is at the back of the house. I have cut it halfway, and I've actually put a small electrical chocolate block in it. So let's say it's a 4 pair cable, so there's 8 connections on this chocolate block, purely and simply so I've got a test point where I can put a meter on the screw heads of the chocolate block, and test the cable, because I have had cables go dodgy on a couple of occasions. I've had to replace this cable twice now because it's outside in the weather, and we're on top of a hill here and get all kinds of horrible weather and that, and the outer shielding on the cable seems to split, and then water gets in, and then it starts to degrade the sound quality going down the cable. Oh, and I replaced it once because Thor chewed through the cable once. So I've replaced it 3 times, I think, now. Yeah, because Thor likes telephone cables, apparently. Says they're very tasty. Yeah, right. Sorry, I was just reading the chat there. Wesley says, what colour is the cable sheath, Andy? It's white, Wesley. And I'm wondering if that should maybe not be outside. this white cable. Is that an indoor cable? I have replaced it this time with some black that I got, because I got loads of this white on a big drum. But when Maplin's shut down, I got sort of maybe a quarter of a drum of black cable. So this time I've replaced it with that black from Maplin's. So I'm going to see if that holds up better, because my suspicion is that white cable probably isn't designed to go outside. So yeah, yeah. Do you think that, Wesley? Do you think the white stuff probably shouldn't be outside? So I've replaced it with black now. Getting quite hard to get though now, telephone cable. It's, you know. Wesley said the white cable is not UV stable. It was always black and different sheath for external runs. Yeah, certainly always black on poles and that, wasn't it? Yeah. It says white is for internal, really. Yeah, I was wondering about that. Yeah, I mean, it's worked for a couple of years. It's been okay for a couple of years, but it has gone again. So yeah, well, any more that I replace outside, because there is another cable outside as well. that just goes to that actually brings the internet in. And when I replace that, I'll replace that with a black bit as well. Gambo says, I was showing my son the difference between a Mark 1, a Mark 2 case and a Mark 1. So I showed him my 1967 746 with a Mark 1 case, then my 1980 teal 746, but the teal was a Mark 1 case also. That tells me the case has been swapped on that one then, Gambo, because it certainly weren't using them in 1980. So you've not got the original case there on that. But you've done well, because nobody makes Mark 1 cases anymore, but people do make reproductions of Mark 2 cases because the moulds survive. You can get them via Britphone if he's got any. He regularly goes out of stock of them, so you can get a Mark 2 case for your teal 746, which will be more correct than the one it's got. But hang on to the Mark 1 case because they are rare. Christopher says the home I'm in was built in the 70s when they only had one phone line, so he's had to put an extra cable in. Yeah, I can remember, Christopher, when you had a phone in the hall and that was it, and if you heard it ringing you had to run to the hall and stand in the hall and answer the phone. Yeah, crikey, those were the days, weren't they? And if you were out, you didn't get your phone call because you didn't have a mobile. So if you were out or in the bath or something, the phone rang and there was nobody there to answer it. Crikey, can you remember those days? Gambo says his phone came from a house clearance, not via eBay. That's interesting then, Gambo. Perhaps the owner of it had bought it from some dodgy dealer who'd put bits together and stuff. So yeah, it wouldn't have had that case in 1980. I'm fairly certain there were no Mark 1 cases being issued by 1980. I'm fairly confident in that. If you'd have said it was 1974, then I'd have said, yeah, it possibly is. But 1980, no, I don't think so. So I think that case has been changed by somebody at some point. But it's been changed the right way. You've got the best end of the deal. Now, I have discovered, but we were talking about 746Ls in topaz yellow last week, weren't we? So, has anybody got a yellow 746L with the lettered bezel on it? And I said I didn't know if I had got one or not. I didn't think I had. Turns out I have. I found it today. So yeah. So I've got a yellow one. Certainly got a red one. I think I've got a black one. I think I've got an ivory one. I don't think I've got a green one, but I'm not 100% certain. But I do need to catalogue them. Does anybody know any kind of museum accessioning software that you can download? So if you've got a lot of something, like all these telephones I've got, I can make like a catalogue with them all in. Does anybody know a bit of software that can do that? Because I'd really like to sort of catalogue everything that I've got, because there's so much stuff in boxes at the minute, because I'm lacking in space to put it, that I forget what I've got. Gembo says, I was lodging at a friend's house many moons ago and was in the bath when the phone started ringing. It was a modern phone of 1990 type thing. I rushed downstairs to answer the call, and it was the crikey, parrot mimicking the phone. How the hell did the parrot mimic the phone? Did the parrot make a noise like a trim phone or something? Crikey. Christopher says, when I get a call, it rings the telephone in my living room and my railway room. Right, so it rings all around the house. You see, with some of these PABXs, they've only got enough power to ring a small number of phones, maybe 4 at a time. So what they tend to do is they ring 4 extensions, and then if nobody answers it for a bit, they ring another block of 4 extensions. Then if nobody still answers it, they ring another block of 4 extensions. And then if nobody still answers it, they go back to the first block and keep going round the blocks until somebody picks the phone up. It's all to do with REN and all this business. Nobody's ever managed to explain to me what a REN is. Ring equivalence number. How do you measure a REN? How do you measure what a REN is in a phone? Nobody's ever managed to explain it to me. Don't think anybody quite knows, to be honest. But yeah, what is 1 REN and how do you measure it to find out how many REN a phone is? Gumbo says it mimicked the chirp sound of the phone. Oh, cool. So it did something like... What number's that on now? Did something like that, did it, Gambo? That sort of noise. Yeah. Don't know what that phone is actually. What do they call those? Don't know what they call it. It's a 9003R. But what is the name for that type of phone? From Telecom. Don't know what the name is of it. A 9003R. It's sort of the same era as the Viscount and things, but I don't know what they call that particular one. Gemmo says, yeah, the noise was along those lines. Yeah. I'm wondering now what this phone is. That's one as well, isn't it? These. What's the actual name for these? It's not written on them anywhere. Oh, a Statesman. It is written on this one. Somebody has written a label on it. Thank you, Arthur. I think it's Arthur who's written a label on it. Says it's a Statesman, this. But yeah, that's exactly like the other one. Got 2 of those then. How cool. Very good. GNA. Right, that's a 9001 Statesman. Right, what's the difference then? Because that one is a 9003R. So one of these Statesmans that look identical, one is a 9003R and one is a 9001 with no R. What's the difference? Answers on the proverbial postcard, please. Wesley will be along in a minute to tell us, I'm sure. Yeah. The one I like is the Ambassador. I nearly got a push-button Ambassador in the bright canary Busby yellow, as I call it, the other day, but the bits got a little bit high on it. I have got a dial one somewhere, which is a really well-built phone. The dial Ambassador, it's like built like a tank. Half a redial, says Gambo. Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah, because that one has got a redial button and that one hasn't. But why is one a 9001 and the other 9003? Why are they not both 9001s, one with an R on the end of it, or both 9003s? There must be some internal difference to them. But I don't know what. Might have to look it up. Right. It says the Statesman, visually similar to the Ambassador, was among the first range of BT phones to be available for outright sale in 1982. The Statesman was designed to be a basic, inexpensive telephone and was thus known at the design stage as the IXT. It was developed by GEC, Plessey and TMC. It features both push-button loop pulsing, and the novel feature of this phone was that both the dialing circuit and the transmission circuit were on a single microchip. There was no need for the traditional three-way inductor. These phones started the trend for the handset to be positioned down the phone body rather than across it. A feature that meant that a special wall mounting version did not need to be produced. Does it mount on the wall then? That's an interesting question. Does it mount on the wall? Oh yeah, it probably does. Because sometimes you have to have a little brackety bit that goes on there to, but yeah, that would mount on the wall. Didn't know you could do that with them. You see, I learnt something new again. Don't know how the hell you do mount it to the wall though, because there's nothing on the back of it, so you can mount it to the wall. This 9001, Arthur's written on the back of it, first year of issue. So this is an early one. Yeah. I quite like phones when you can mount them to the wall. They take up less space. One of these days I will make a whole wall full of telephones. But it does work surprisingly well, that. Because they don't all do that. Because if you've got a Viscount, oh, Viscount does it as well. Oh, I didn't realise a Viscount did it. Huh. But you have to have a wall bracket for a Viscount, don't you? I have seen these brackets. I've not got one, but I have seen them. This is my Kermit Green Viscount. If they didn't call this Kermit Green, they should have, because it was at exactly the right time for the Muppet Show, 1983, and that is the same colour as Kermit the Frog. Yeah. Yeah. That would have been very good on the wall, wouldn't it? you go. Why didn't they do a bright blue one though? That's the question. Right. Anyhow, I think that probably Wesley says there was a dedicated wall bracket for the Statesman, and the Viscount also needs a wall bracket. So I was right. Yeah, I thought it must do. Yeah. I went somewhere last year, or was it early part of this year, and rescued a load of telephones from a guy that had passed away, and rescued quite a lot of his collection of phones that his next of kin didn't really know what to do with. And I went and valued them all for him, and came away with quite a few of them myself. And one thing that was there were some Viscount wall brackets still in the sort of shrink wrap packaging thing, and I didn't bring them, and I wish I had now. But yeah, you see, there's nothing to mount that on the back. You need some sort of bracket to attach to that, although quite how it attaches I'm not sure. But yeah. Christopher says, Andy, was it a GPO Bell Set 25 you wanted for a GPO candlestick? One in eBay right now. Yes, it was, Christopher. It was a Bell Set 25, which is basically a Bell Set 26 with an induction coil in it. It's the one on eBay. Let's have a little look. There's some covers. You too can have a red Bell Set cover. It only costs £119.95, and then it's a repro one. Well, just put in Bell Set 25, it doesn't come up with anything, Christopher. No, it's not coming up on my eBay, unless I'm putting the Bell Set 59. But not 25, unfortunately, which is a shame. But I think I may have found a way of converting a Bell Set 26 into a 25 anyway, so it might not be that that crucial. I'll have a closer look in a minute when I go off air. So I've just sent you the link. Cheers, Christopher. I'll have a look in a bit when I go off air. But yeah, I do need to find a way of making 26s and 25s though, because I've got quite a lot of Bell Set 26s. I don't need any 26s, but I do need some 25s. But I think I may have found a way of converting them. So it's one of those round to it jobs. When I get round to it, I will do an experiment on that. I've got 1 or 2 round to it jobs at the minute, and I'm just sort of, I've got a lot of jobs that are half done at the moment, as you probably see from the stuff around me. You know, that are waiting for parts and things, and I'm looking forward to getting some of the parts in, so some of these jobs can be cleared out of the way and I can get them done. So yeah, that would be good. Right, I think that is probably almost as far as we go for today. but we will be back, of course, around about the same time, maybe even a little bit earlier next week. Maybe I'll actually be on at 7 o'clock, as I should be, next week. Yeah, same time, same place, sort of thing. I'm also interested to hear from anybody who would like to come on as a guest. That's what I was trying to make work today, but I think there might be other ways of doing it. So anybody that wants to sort of come on the show as a guest, let me know, and we'll see if we can make it happen. But it didn't seem to want to play ball when I was experimenting with it today. Christopher says, back in my old home I used to be in, I had a telephone bell outside in my garden, so when I got a call I could hear it. Yeah, they do make them here as well, various sizes. They make a big one called a loud bell, or they make little ones. My uncle used to run a garage, sort of vehicle repair garage, and he had one in his garage, so he could hear it over the very loud radio that he used to have playing. Gambo says, I'm working till 7 next week, so I'll be late on. We will hang around for you, Gambo. Theoretically we start at 7, but you know me, I'm late for everything, so you probably won't have missed much by 1:30, to be quite honest. Right, that is about it, I think, for today. It's time for me to go and have my pizza now. I'm a bit late tonight. But thanks to everybody for taking part once again. Christopher says the Bellset 25 is on Australian eBay. Yeah, well, the cost of getting it here would probably be more than fitting and working on a Bellset 26 to turn it into a 25 would be worth. So yeah, I think we'll stick with the 26s we've got and turn them into 25s, Christopher. But well spotted though. Right, the clock is telling me it's 9 o'clock. I'm about to turn back into a pumpkin. So from me for now, have a fantastic week ahead, everybody. I'll see you back here around about the same time, same place next week, about 7 o'clock. But remember, check out the forum, gpotelephones.proboards.com, and I'll see you back here next week. Bye for now, everybody. Bye.